Hello, it is April 2nd, 2020, which means we are right in the middle of the coronavirus shutdown of our whole society. And my name is Rob. The revelation was that we all need to get better at gardening. And so even though I am not an expert, I decided to build some raised garden beds. And we're going to build some elevated raised garden beds. The reason for the elevated raised garden beds is twofold. One, the only place we can put them is in our backyard where our dogs run around and dig and do all these sorts of things. And the other reason is I'm not 20 years old anymore and I don't feel like crawling around on the ground. So a raised elevated garden bed in which the plants are, at arm level is a great idea. And so my wife and I just spent some time contemplating what we wanted and designed a couple of 8-foot by 4-foot garden beds, which is a pretty standard size. It's a large size, but it's pretty standard size. And you can see from the whiteboard that we spent some time figuring out what is the lumber and the hardware that we need in order to construct these. And so we're going to share this process with you as a part of our learning. Hope you enjoy. What we've got on the board here is a little sketch of the design as we thought through it. And what I'd like to do is have something that's stable enough. I'm not a professional carpenter or any kind of carpenter, actually, though I did grow up on a farm, so I've built a few fences. And what we've got here is a raised elevated garden bed that will be on 4x4s as the 4 legs. And then there's going to be a box that is made by 1x12s. So it will be 12 inches deep. The floor of that box is going to have 1x8s and 1x6s, and then be covered with what's called a wire mesh, or what do they call it? Hardware, hardware cloth. And the reason for the mesh is so that the water can drain out. The soil will be held in by a liner, which is made of like a black cloth that water can seep through, but dirt cannot. So what we'll have is a box that can be filled to the top if desired, and can hold all of the dirt, all of the soil that we put in, and the water will drain naturally and hopefully not rot this wood. So we're going to give it a shot. I've watched a couple of quick videos on YouTube, and so we're going to give it a go. This particular design is designed for my wife, who's 5'0", so this actually would be a little bit tall for her. It'll be 36 inches tall, but should suit us very well. And so we did the math and figured out what lumber we'll have, and we can put that into the details down here. In addition to building the elevated raised garden beds, of course, we need to fill it with soil. So we could do this with dirt from our backyard. In our case, it's pretty high quality stuff because we've got rabbits and lots of composting and that sort of thing. We could use that. But it's a lot of soil that we need because we've got, if you do the math, it's 4 feet by 8 feet by 1 foot. So each one of these elevated raised garden beds is 32 cubic feet of soil maximum if we filled it to the top. And so we need 64 cubic feet of soil. What our local Grange Co-op recommended was some garden bed mixed with what they call soil amendments. There's a brand called Harvest Supreme. That's what we're going with. They have a special right now. Maybe this is a good price, maybe it's not, but it's going to take about $100 to fill each of the elevated raised garden beds. The only tools we're going to use for this are a handsaw and a power drill, wireless power drill. So that's all we need. You could do the same thing with a screwdriver or a hammer and nails. We decided to use screws so that we could disassemble the hardware if we sell the house, move somewhere else, and we want to take our garden beds with us. You know, we're winging it like anyone. Don't have any special skills, but we want to embrace the notion that every person in society can be a gardener, can figure out how to build simple things, can learn from each other how to grow a garden. So this is our adventure. Okay, so car is here. Let's look inside the truck. This is a CRV, not especially big. And they pre-cut the lumber for us at Home Depot. So a lot of the cuts that we'll need to make are already made, which is fantastic. So for example, these will be the posts, and the frame will go on top of that. Excellent. Okay, so we've unloaded the CRV, and this is, we think, all the materials we need. So very, very conveniently, everything has been pre-cut by Home Depot. So they will do that for you if you describe what you need. We'll put the instructions in the video. We needed a little bit of hardware, some flathead Phillips screws, and that's our wire mesh or hardware cloth, and then the liner, and these are the 4x4 posts cut into 2-foot sections, and we've got what will be the sides of the long side of the planter box, and then the short sides, etc. So it's all there ready to go, and we're going to build it here in this yard. All right, here's our observers, workplace safety officers. Okay, this is the build of our second elevated raised garden bed. This will show a bit about the design and construction. So we've got 1x10s on the side, and we're going to put a 1x8 in the middle. And I'm using the 4-foot long 1x6s to measure the correct distance. I need the 1x10s to be slightly wider than the 4-foot 1x6s, so that the box can sit on the ledge that goes all the way around. So you'll see it as we build it. What you see me unwrapping there is a what's called hardware cloth or wire mesh, and it's I believe it's it's 10 feet long, and so I need to cut it, and so you can see me. Let's pretend those are wire cutters, and I'm not actually ruining a pair of hedge clippers there. So cutting all the way across so that it's the correct length, so it's just under 8 feet long, so that I can then staple it to the boards, which you'll see me do in a moment. It's easier. It would have been easier to do this with help, with an assistant, but I'm using heavy things to hold it down, so I can use the. I'm just hammering some staples or brads into the boards through the around a corner of the wires. The mesh itself is 1/2-inch squares, and it's plenty for the water will obviously be able to leak through here. This is right set up. This is exactly the base of the garden bed itself. And you'll see the next thing I'll do is put cross beams. These are 1x6s, 4 feet long. They were pre-cut. Most of them were pre-cut for us by Home Depot. And so I'm just drilling screws in 1 1/4-inch screws through the 1x6s into the lower boards. And it has the secondary effect of holding the mesh in place even stronger than the brads are. So what you'll see on the very last one is that it's too long. So I need to, I discovered there, it's too wide. So what I'm going to do is cut about a 1/2 inch off so that the box will fit around the frame here. And if they're not all even, you need to do that. So there we go. We've secured the short boards on top of the long boards. And now what's going to happen is I'm going to construct the box that goes around. So these are 1x12s. So the garden box is 12 inches high. And there's 2 4-foot 1x12s and 2 8-foot 1x12s. And essentially I just screw them all together with the 8-foot boards on the outside. So we maximize the volume on the inside of the box that way slightly. And what will happen is at this stage of the game, these are completely separate. I'm drilling holes and then screwing screws in to hold this together. And the boards aren't entirely square, so you can see there's a little bit of a mismatch on the corners. That's fine. This is not rocket science. So here I am. I'm flipping the base over so that I can build now the feet. And we're going to use... I need to cut one of the 4x4s here. So these are 4x4s. You can find them in the common lumber, section, or they're basically fence posts. And I'm going to use 6 legs. That's a change in our design. The middle 1x8 and the 2 middle 4x4 legs are adjustments we made from our initial design after building the first one. So this reflects the learnings we had from our first build. And what you see me doing there is using an L bracket to secure the legs. They're not entirely stable unless you secure them in several dimensions. So you could have legs that came up through the box, and you secure the box to the legs if they were longer posts. We're not choosing to do it that way. We're choosing to have them just sit under the bed. So we're securing them with brackets, and then we're going to cut this 1x6 in half. We're going to use it to secure the ends. Now, if I were to build this again, I would also secure, I would use 1x6's, the long dimension as well, to hold the legs in place. I think that would give even more stability to the legs. But you can see that the 4 corners are pretty darn stable as is. And the 2 middle ones I'm not even going to put on until the entire bed is in place. So, all right, so I've now screwed through the top so that I've got screws going into the post from the top through the boards. I've got braces, and I've got the 1x6s holding the thing in place. So now we're moving this into place. This is members of my family putting this into position. All right, and then we go back over and get the box frame. We're going to slide that on, and it just sort of kerchunk goes over the lip there. And you see a lot of people helping. These are all members of our household, so I do not recommend that you congregate with large numbers of people during coronavirus pandemic. But these are all members of our household, so rest assured. And what we're doing now is we're using the liner, the black fabric or material that it is designed to hold the dirt in. So obviously with the wire mesh, the water can get out, but we don't want the dirt to leak out. So we use this mesh, and we're using the same staple brads that we use to staple the mesh in place, to staple the liner in place. And we need to staple it on the outside and then on the inside to keep its shape, make sure it has the full, you can hold the full volume of dirt. We're putting on the ends first so that the one in the middle is overlapping. And what we're doing is laying this 4-foot strip of material over, hammering the brads in, and then on the inside, all the way across, and cutting it with scissors to the right length. The material we got is, I think, 25 feet long. If you think of it this way, it's 4 feet wide, and you need 3 sections going across. They're each about 7 feet long if you consider the drop down, the 4 feet across, and then back up, and then a little bit over each side. So 7 times 3 is 21. The fabric we got, I believe it was 50 feet long, so we can use that to make both beds. And what I'm doing now is securing the box to the cross beams, the 1x6s that are inside the structure, and that will hold the box on a little tighter. So I drilled holes, and then I screwed screws in. And now we're putting the last 2 legs in, and we need to dig little holes and just make it the right distance. The ground is not even, so we're just doing our best. And then In order to keep those a little bit secure, I drill holes in both sides and then put a screw in, and that ought to do the job for now. So now I brought over all the soil. We got 6 bags of 3 cubic feet of garden bed mix and 4 bags of 2 cubic feet each of amendment, and mix it all up. And that'll do it.
All right.
All right, so here are the finished beds. Got some planting started. You want to tell us about it?
Sure. I mean, over here, I went to the Grange Co-op and decided to get some of their starters. I was looking for seeds because I wanted to put in some seeds, but they didn't have any for the peas that I wanted, so I ended up getting their starters. They're really healthy, so I was very excited. So we put in some starters down here of the peas. I put in some spaghetti squash seeds here, and then I delineated that with a stick because I didn't want to forget that I did that. And I put in some broccoli starters and then a couple of tomato plants at the end there with some radish seeds underneath. So I'm excited. I've got a whole section there I don't know what I'm doing with yet. So
Similar in the other bed?
in the other bed, no, I've got some I've got greens, so we've got some vegetables. We've got some salad greens over there for the this time of year. That's good to grow, and yeah, that's mostly what's in the other one. I've got some I've got Brussels sprouts starters, so that'll be fun. I haven't grown that before. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
And carrots and nasturtium for the salads.
All right, we did it. Okay, so here's how the price broke down for us after we actually built it. We ended up using more materials than we initially designed as we just learned more about the structural needs of the elevated raised beds. So we ended up using the lumber here, a bunch of 1x, the 10 feet of mesh, liner, which we got to use half for each of the beds, miscellaneous boxes of wood screws, angle brackets, about $100 of soil per bed. It worked out to about a little less than $330 for the first bed, and about $260 for the second bed. If you consider all the efficiencies you get, you already have the screws, you already have this liner work for 2. Half of this could be used for the next one, etc. So it worked out to about $9 per square foot of garden space that we constructed. It was just under $600 for us to build these 2 beds. Now this goes down the more you can use reclaimed wood or recycled materials that you already have. And of course the soil was one of the most expensive things, so it goes down tremendously if you can use your own soil. All right, there's our pricing.